Yes, yes, yes. Good morning po. Thank you sa pagtambay. Silent na. Kasi nasa, nasa webinar. Try lang, na-miss na live stream. So, try natin ulit ngayon. Thank you po. Love the nature. Thank you po. Good morning po. Thank you for dropping by, Ma'am Glenda Ishikawa. Ako ay nasa ah, webinar ng mga teachers. Wala, nakaka-miss din mag-live stream. Sa susunod, mag-focus tayo sa live stream, ma'am. Thank you po sa pag-stay. Hello po, Love the Nature, watching from Taiwan. Thank you po. Mm. Ewan ko yung, ito yung ano ko eh. Tawag dito, multitasking tayo. Ayan, positive discipline, training ng mga teachers. Ang init ng panahon dito sa Pilipinas, grabe. Ilang degrees na ba ngayon? Dito sa amin sa Binangonan, Rizal, ang temperature ay 32 degrees Celsius na agad. Imagine, 32 degrees Celsius, napakainit. Wala man lang hangin. Sana umulan mamayang hapon. Ayan po. Tambay-tambay lang po. Thank you po. Ayun, pwede ko palang i-cover yung aming positive discipline, ayan, training. Change ko lang yung camera. Ay. Setting ng camera. Yun. Ayan po. Ayan, training on positive discipline. Ayan. Ay, hindi pala kaya. po sa lahat po ng subject cohorts, pag-check na po yung ating attendance para po mamaya okay na po tayo sa ating webinar.
Hello sir, grade level po.
Sorry. So, lahat po ng year level coordinator. From grade 7, si Mama Jenny de la Vega. Grade 8, si Mama Belenya Kauman. Grade 9, Ma'am Mercer Tansay. Grade 10, Ma'am Josephine Molina. And for the senior high school, Ma'am Felicitas Perez. I-check daw po yung ating attendance. Thank you. Yan, thank you po sa pag-stay, Ma'am Glenda, and then Love the Nature po. Okay, pleasant morning to all. So before we start now, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today's webinar. So before we begin, may I call on Miss Mary Glenn Nas, grade 7 and 8 ESP teacher to lead the opening prayer.
Sir, may ano lang po ako.
Okay lang po, ma'am.
Magandang umaga po sa bawat isa. Nawa po, pakinggan po natin ang aking pinito. Dakilang Ama, napakabuti mo po sa amin. Lahat ng binibigay mo po sa amin, Panginoon, ay nakakabuti sa amin. Napakatapat mo, Panginoon, at napakadakila mo sa buhay namin. Yung hindi namin naaabot, pinaaabot mo po sa amin at pinapalawak mo po aming puso't isipan para maabot namin, Panginoon. Ang lahat ng kabutihan, Panginoon, na nais mo po ipagkaloob sa amin. Kaya, Panginoon, binibigay po namin sa iyo lahat. Ikaw po, Panginoon, ang patuloy na luminis sa aming puso at isipan. At patuloy mo po kaming tahakin, Panginoon, sa tamang daan tungo sa kaluwalhatian ng iyong makapangyarihan at awa ng aming Panginoong Jesus, Amang Banal na nasa langit. Maraming pong salamat sa Espiritu, sa banal na Espiritu na pataging gumagabay sa bawat isa sa amin. Totoo po, Panginoon, sa lahat ng aming hininga, Panginoon, dadakilain ka namin. At itataas po namin, Panginoon, ang iyong pangalan. Dahil alam po namin, Panginoon, na may Diyos kami na buhay, na hindi nagbabago, hindi nagkukula, noon, ngayon, at magpakailan pa man. You are so faithful to us, O God. You're so good to us, O Father, na sa lahat ng binigay mo po sa amin, napakabuti mo po, Panginoon. Hindi man namin na-appreciate, Panginoon, pero tunay at ganap ang bawat pinagkakalaw mo po sa amin. Itong aming hinihingang, Panginoon, wala po kaming tangke na dala-dala. Maraming pong salamat, Panginoon. Sa gabay mo, Panginoon, sa kalawakan ng pag-iisip, at sa mahabang pasensya, Panginoon. Maraming pong salamat. Patuloy mo po kaming tulungan, Panginoon, sa oras na ito. Sama-sama po kami, Panginoon. Tinataas ko ang pangalan mo na itong seminar na ito na positive discipline in everyday in our teaching, Lord. Patuloy mo po kaming samahan. Patuloy mo po kaming lukuban ng iyong banal na dugo. Gayun din, Panginoon, ng iyong Santong Espiritu, Panginoon. Para magampanan po namin, Panginoon, ang iyong binibigay na tungkulin sa amin. Hindi lang bilang isang guro, kundi pangalawang magulang. Kahit po dito, Panginoon, sa online teaching, Panginoon. Tulungan mo po kami, Panginoon, na palawakin mo po ang aming isipan sa pag-abot sa mga bata, Panginoon. Gayon din ang aming pasensya, Panginoon. Patuloy mo po kami gabayan, Panginoon, sa bawat sasabihin namin, sa bawat ibabahagi namin sa aming mga estudyante. Panginoon, patuloy mo po kami ayusin simula sa loob, from inner self of God to outward of God. Maraming pong salamat. Ngayon din, Ama, dalangin ko po, Panginoon, sa oras na ito. Ano man po, Panginoon, ang ginagawa namin ng mga guro. Ano pa man, Panginoon, ang aming iniisip, Panginoon. Ano pa man, Panginoon, ang aming pinuproblema. Alam po namin, yung provision mo, you will supply all our needs. Salamat po, Ama. Ngayon din, samahan mo po, Panginoon, at bigyan ng karunungan ang magbibigay sa amin ng kaalaman, Panginoon, tungo sa aming gaganapin, Panginoon, na seminar na ito. Maraming pong salamat sa pagsama mo po sa amin ng iyong banal na dugo, ng iyong Santong Espiritu. Maraming po salamat. Itinataas po namin ito sa oras na ito, sa tanging pangalan ng aming Panginoon sa Kristo. Amen. Salamat.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Nas. Now, to give us her message, may I call on our beloved and diligent Assistant Principal and Officer in Charge, Office of the Principal, Ma'am Maria Nicolas. Okay, sorry. So, let's call on our hardworking year level coordinators to update our attendance. So may I call on Miss Jenny De La Vega, grade 7.
Good morning po, teachers. So as of 9:19 a.m., we have 11 out of 12 grade 7 teachers attending the webinar on positive. Thank you.
Okay, for grade 8, Miss Belenet Coman.
Good morning, everyone. For now, I'm happy to announce that for grade 8 levels, 11 out of 11, perfect attendance.
Thank you, ma'am. Now let's proceed. Let's have Ma'am Merced Ansay, grade 9.
Grade 9, 7 out of 10. One less.
Thank you, Ma'am Ansay. Grade 10, Ma'am Josephine Molina.
Good morning. For grade 10, as of now, we are 9 over 11. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So let's proceed for the senior high school. Ma'am Felicitas A. Perez, our senior high school assistant principal. May I, sir? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, of Ma'am Felicitas A. Perez. For senior high school, sir, 9 over 9. Thank you very much, sir. So again, may I call on Ma'am Maria A. Nicolas?
Ma'am, wala po kayong boses. Sorry. Alam ko, okay. To our speakers, good morning. Positive discipline and approach to teaching that helps children succeed. Give them the information they need to learn and support their development. It respects children's right to healthy development, protection from violence, and active participation in their life. It is not about getting students to do whatever they want or having no rules, limits, or expectations. It is about long-term solutions that develop students' own discipline and their lifelong learning. It is about clear and consistent communication, consistent reinforcement of your expectations, rules, and limits. It is about teaching nonviolence, empathy, self-respect, human rights, and respect. Once again, we have this webinar to keep us updated on the current situation here in relation to positive discipline and teaching. Positive discipline, everyday teaching. Applying positive discipline to our learners that actually science and innovation. Let us all learn together and enjoy this webinar. Thank you and
Thank you very much, Ma'am Nicolas. So just a little bit housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box, and we will have time for question and answer portion at the end of the presentation. And to keep the quality of sound functional during the webinar, please mute your microphone. So allow me to introduce our resource speaker for today. She is a registered guidance counselor and head teacher 6 at Marikina High School. Fellow teachers, join me in welcoming Ma'am Eunice P. Songkuyawan. Morning, ma'am.
good morning. Okay. So to our dynamic and influential leaders, Ma'am Maria A. Nicolas, Officer in Charge, Office of the Principal, Ma'am Felicitas A. Perez, Senior High School Assistant to the Principal, my co-guidance advocate, Ma'am Cathy Marcela, and Marikina Science High School, or Marisay Faculty. Good morning po. Okay. Good morning po. Good morning po.
Good morning po.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning po, magpe-present lang. Good morning, ma'am. Yes, morning po. Present ko lang po muna. Dito na po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, when we say positive discipline, so when we say positive discipline, it focuses mainly on discipline rather than punishment. This particular approach po is rooted in a respect for human rights. Uh, it aims to work with children and not against them. And also this okay lang daw. Right, mama. Ayan, okay na po ba?
Thank you
Ayan, ma'am.
po.
Okay na po. Sige, try ko natin. Okay, so as I've said, this approach actively promotes children participation and problem solving, while at the same time, it also encourage adults like as teachers or their parents to become positive role model. Ayan. So, positive discipline primer uh, was released November of 2015. No, it was through the cooperation of INET, DepEd, and Save the Children. The very purpose of this approach is to help as teachers to apply positive discipline in our day-to-day classroom management. So kung mapapansin niyo po, wala pa po itong, hindi po ito naka-update, no? With this, with our current situation, no? Yung pandemic. Pero may mga approaches naman po sa bandang dulo kung saan um, pwede po natin ma-relate sa ating day-to-day meetings without face-to-face, no? With our students through Google Classroom and other social um, platforms po. So the purpose of this particular approach is to help us teachers, as I said earlier, apply positive discipline in our day-to-day dealings with our students. And this particular primer po consists of four main parts. The first part po is sorry po, medyo bumaba.
Ma'am, Linis.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am, medyo bumaba. Yes, ma'am.
Okay lang na ako mag-present. Try po.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oo. Sige po. Please po, ah.
Okay.
Malabas, labas na po, ma'am. Medyo mabagal siya. Ayan. So, thank you, Ma'am Marcela. Okay, next slide po. Ayan. So, this particular primer consists of 4 main parts po. The first part of the primer is the topic, which is something to do with corporal punishment, its magnitude, and the legal basis in prohibiting corporal punishment in its practice, no, in our school, no. And the second part of the primer is the brief discussion on the positive discipline model, or the PIDET building block. And the third po is the examples. Now, this particular part of the primer is the main section of this handbook, right? So, and the last part po is it has something to do with the teachers' well-being, to support them and help them cope up with their stress, no? Okay. Okay. So, when we say corporal punishment, it is an example actually of a negative discipline, which includes three different parts, or rather 3 different types. First is physical. Example of this is hitting, smacking, like another is slapping, pumping, hitting, even shaking, or pinching or biting, and pulling a child's hair or back in their ears. Or kabilang din po dito yung forcing children to stay in a very uncomfortable position, and washing their mouth with soap. So yun po yung mga tinatawag natin halimbawa ng physical. Now, the other type of corporal punishment is using an implement. Yan po yung gumagamit po ng mga pamalo, yung stick, yung belt, yung shoes, or wooden spoon, even yung nakaroli pong garyo, yan. And the last type of corporal punishment, it is known as emotional punishment, which can cause psychological pain sa mga estudyante po. Example po ay sarcasm, name-calling, yelling, commanding, and humiliating. Yung forcing the children or the learner to stay in a very undignified position, or another po is to wear signs, no, for everyone to see and comment on. Yung before pa, no, kung kayo po ay nag-start mag-aral ng mga early 80s, no, ayan, meron po niyan yung sinasabit sa bata, sa kanyang ulo. I mean, yung ilalagay sa harapan, yung placard, so tapos papaikutin sa campus. Isa po yan sa mga tinatawag na example ng non-physical norms. Okay, next, ma'am. So, what are the legal basis for prohibiting corporal punishment and proactive or positive discipline? So, there are 3 po. So, the first is, first of the 3 legal basis is Department Order number 46 of 2012. Yan po, no? So, ito po ay kilala bilang polisiya and guidelines on how to protect our children in school from abuse, violence, exploitations, and discriminations, and even bullying and other forms of abuse. The second legal basis is Department Order number 55, also known as RA 10627, or the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013. And last is Department Order number 18, series of 2015, known as the Guidelines and Procedures on the Management of Children at Risk, o tinatawag natin CAR, and the CICL, or those children who are in conflict with the law. Okay, next, ma'am. Okay. Now, the overview of PIDET. Now, next po. So that overview of PIDET is the second part of the primer. So, pause lang po muna dyan, ma'am. Now, positive discipline is it is a long-term solution. Pag binanggit na po ni Ma'am Nicolas kanina, no? So it is a long-term solution to one's self-discipline. It is clear and consistent communication based on getting to know the students or our learners and being fair. It is geared towards building a mutually respectful relationship between the teachers and the learners. It also it fosters love and love for learning, and it teaches courtesy, nonviolence, empathy, even self-respect, and respect for others. And ito po, bigyan ko ng highlight ito, no? It increases our learners' competence and confidence to handle academic challenges and difficulties, and difficult social situations like the one that we are experiencing, no? So we are in the second year of this COVID-19 pandemic. So now why should school implement positive discipline? Okay, bakit po mahalaga? So there are three important things why a school should implement positive discipline. So there are three main reasons. So first of the three is it is founded. Positive discipline is founded on the dignity and respect for human rights. No, as stated in our Constitution's Bill of Rights. It also this particular approach implements this particular approach help our school, no, to play an important role in creating a more just and humane society. It also it makes our work, no, easier in a long term. Ano po yun? No, by teaching our students or our learners self-control, now helping them to understand what is expected of them and providing them with the necessary skills. Now, positive discipline approach enables our students to moderate their behavior. This means we educators need to spend less time and effort correcting our children's misbehavior. Next slide, ma'am. Okay, next po. So with all of this, next po. Ayan. So binanggit na rin ito ni Ma'am Nicolas kanina, with all of those reasons why a school should implement PDEF, no? Or positive discipline in everyday teaching. I'm sorry, ma'am. Mas nauna pa pong slide, ma'am. So ergo, positive discipline is not, next slide, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So positive discipline is not permissive. It's not letting our students do whatever they want or having no rules, limits, or expectations. It's not a short-term reactions or alternative punishment to slapping, hitting, and shaming. Okay, next slide. Now, the PDEF approach is based on sound pedagogical principles and practice. So the foundation po of a positive discipline or its building block po ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So there are 5. There are 5 building blocks. Plus yung kanilang foundation. So the foundation of PDEF are child's right. So yung binigay ko pong 3 legal bases and the pedagogical principles. So yun po ang foundation ng approach nito. So let us tackle one by one. What are those pedagogical approaches which are considered as the foundation of PDEF? So let's start with holistic. Now, this particular principle po has something to do with recognizing that all aspects of our learners' learning and their development are connected to each other. So meaning, positive discipline is based on understanding the links between individual development, their learning behavior, and their academic achievement or academic performance. So, plus, their family relationship and the community, uh, and their community. Sabi nga, sa science, there are two things that makes an individual, no? So we have the nurture and the nature. So yun po. So magkaka-connect sila. Now, holistic principle also considers that our students or our learners are rather considers our students' physical, emotional, social, and spiritual well-being. So kaya po ito holistic na. And the second principle is so-called strength-based. So this second principle recognizes that all learners have strength, they have the capabilities, they have the talents, and aims to also emphasize and build on their abilities, effort, improvements, and improvements. No, mistakes are not seen. In cadet, mistakes are not seen as failures, but rather an opportunity to learn and to improve. So, as teachers, we need to consider the importance of our children's developmental stage, their discipline in an appropriate way. Third is constructive. Now, this principle behind the positive discipline emphasizes that we, educators, role in building learners, we have this particular role as their mentors, no, sa ating mga estudyante. So ano po yung role natin? No, maturuan natin ang ating mga estudyante, no, i-guide natin sila on uh, how to become confident, no, how to build their self-esteem, and how how to develop their sense of self-efficacy. Now, rather than punishing our learners academically, kung hindi sila nakakasunod, or medyo bumaba yung kanilang performance, or another is their behavioral mistakes, no? We educators should explain and demonstrate, no? What are the concepts and behavior na dapat matutunan itong mga estudyante natin? So that's constructive. Now, the fourth one is so-called inclusive, wherein it has something to do with yung diversity of all students, or diversity of all learners. Now, sa PD or positive discipline is respectful of all learners' individual differences and equal rights. Now, in a positive discipline approach, the emphasis is on teaching our children or our learners their strength, their social skills, their learning style within an integrated classroom. No? Na paano natin magagawa ito? Paano natin siya ma-group? Paano natin ito ma-identify? In the beginning of the school year lang po nagkakaroon tayo ng profiling. No? At based on the profile na ginagawa po natin sa simula po ng pasukan, no? Nag-grupo na natin sila. Sino ba yung may learning style na visual, no? Sino may learning style na tactile, no? Or sino may learning style na auditory. Yan po. So, in inclusive, mahalaga po na we should find ways on how our students learn to be effective and adapting to the classroom environment to ensure their success. The fifth one is proactive. Now, this one focuses in helping our children or our students succeed in the long term, no? And the last principle is participatory. No, participatory means it works on the principle that children or our learners are more interested in learning when they feel na sila ay bahagi ng proseso. So, positive discipline involves learners not to make decisions rather than force or control them. So malinaw po yun. Another thing, this approach also, through this participatory principle, our learners, sinisik natin, no, yung opinion ng ating mga students. So, in order to create a classroom environment that supports our learners. Now, may I share this one? When children feel good, they are on their best behavior. Siguro naman, you agree with me. But when children feel out of control, they act out of control. No? So, next po. Next, ma'am. Okay. I'm sorry, Ma'am Marcela. Hello, ma'am. So, next slide, ma'am. Next pa po. Ayan. So, sorry, ma'am. Doon po sa building blocks po muna. Ayan. So, kanina, binanggit ko po, the build the foundation of 3D, represent is the child rights and pedagogical principle. Now, let us, we will discuss one by one the building blocks. So, let us begin with the, we will start with setting long-term goals. Now, what are considered as, what are the things now pwede natin consider as to providing warmth or providing structure, things about understanding our children's development, how to recognize one's individual differences, and how to cope with problem solving. So let's start with identifying long-term goals. So that's the first block. So this particular, yeah. So the PEDAT approach consists of 5 components. So the first is identifying long-term goal. So identifying long-term goal, ibig sabihin po nito, we can turn short-term challenges into opportunities. To work towards our long-term goal by teaching our students or our learners how to manage stress, how to respect themselves and others, and be successful learners. Now, our long-term goals are considered as our blueprint. So, ito yung tinatawag natin plan. No? So, this first of the 5 components will keep us focused, stay with our students, on the impact on what we want to have to our students. So ano ba yung gusto natin? No? Ano ba yung plano natin for them? Now, achieving those goals requires 2 important tools. So ito po yung providing warmth. Next, ma'am. Yan. So nasa ano na po tayo? Nasa tinatawag na po, after the plan, after identifying long-term goals, yun po yung plan. Tutungo naman po tayo sa tools. There are 2 particular tools sa PEDAT. No? So, one is providing warmth and structure. So, let's start with how to provide warmth. So, when we say warmth, it really affects our students academically, emotionally, behaviorally. No? Kasi po, our students best learn or they learn best when they feel respected, no? They are understood, trusted, no? At na-feel nila na sinusuportahan sila, no? And another thing is yung pong yung recognize yung kanilang effort and also their success. So that's providing warmth. Now, that's one of the 2 tools na kailangan natin in implementing this particular approach. Now, the second tool, aside from providing warmth, is providing structure. Okay, next, ma'am. Yan. So, what about providing structure? So, pag sinabi natin providing structure, tayo po mga guro, we should act as positive role model sa ating mga estudyante. No, we should explain the reasons bakit may rules, no? Kinakailangan we involve our students in setting the rules na need to implement in our classroom, and then we should also need to hear the point of view, no, the perspective of our students kasi magkakaiba po tayo, no? Okay, may iba yung ating point of view, iba rin yung point of view ng ating mga students. So meron tayong 40 students in our total classroom. Now, it also helps our students ways on how to fix their mistakes. So, another thing po, by providing structure, we should know how to control our emotion, no? And we should learn how to avoid threats. Okay. So that's tools. So there are two tools in pivot approach. One is providing warmth, and the second is providing structure. Now let's proceed next, ma'am, with the material. So dapat alam natin, no? We should know the material. So when we say understanding our child's development, kunin ko lang yung from the book of Elizabeth Harlock. In her book Developmental Psychology, sabi niya nakasulat doon sa kanyang libro, development is an ongoing. It is a never-ending process, sabi niya, according to Elizabeth Harlock. Children or our students or our learners do not learn in the same way. No? At every age. Their ways of thinking and understanding changes. So the ways that we, teachers, must change as well. Okay. Now, when we start to see the world through the eyes of a 6-year-old child or a 13-year-old juvenile, we can begin to understand the reason for their behavior. Yeah, that's according to what Elizabeth Harlock. Then, with that, we should learn how to be more effective teachers, no? So we have to consider the following stages. So first is the early childhood stage, and the second is the transition from home to school. So this particular stage, I consider as the momentous event in every child or in every learner's life. The third is primary or early primary from 6 to 8-year-olds, and then the late primary from 9 to 12-year-olds. And last is the adolescents. So age bracket niyan is from 13 to 18 years old, which it is considered also as the time of remarkable transformation. So ibang topic po ito, no? Ibang topic po itong different stages. So binagit ko lang po para at least magkaroon tayo ng idea na yung ating ginagawa ko mga students, whether it's from junior high school or from senior high school, it is considered as their time of remarkable transformation. So while all our learners go through the same stages of development, so lahat po yan dumadaan sa ganyang stages. But sabi na, they do so with different, they do so with different environments, with different cultures, and with different personality, syempre, talents, and different abilities. Kaya merong mga bata na, may mga bata na passive, may bata na active, may mga bata na considered as introvert, no? May mga students, learners tayo na considered as extrovert. So, we teachers or mentors need to find out the different stories in our Google Classroom. Di po ba meron tayong inaalat for every week, meron tayong 1 hour na guidance meeting with our class advisory. No? At meron tayong mga binibigay na guidance module. Kaya lang, sobrang delay na po ang uploading ng Guidance Philippines. So, until now, hanggang second quarter pa lang po ang nai-upload na guidance module na Guidance Philippines. So, wala pa po tayong kasunod. Okay. Next slide, ma'am. So, yung binanggit ko po kanina, yun ay yung ating identify individual differences. So, there are two materials na kailangan natin maunawaan sa ating students. Yung understanding our child's development and identifying our students' individual differences. Okay. And the last of the components is so-called problem solving and responding with positive discipline. Now, sometimes na-mesmerize tayo ng ating mga, or mystifying, no? Sometimes yung mga act ng ating mga students ay can be mystifying to us teachers. Minsan, tatanungin natin sila, or tatanungin natin sa sarili natin. Why want this particular learner, or why want this particular child stop talking? No, may mga ganon. Or, why can he just do his assignment? Napakadali naman ng binigay kong assignment, pero ba't parang yung feel, hindi niya ginagawa. No? Now, once a teacher has identified, take note po, once you identify your long-term or your plan or your blueprint, no, and then you know how to provide warmth and structure, and you understand the materials by knowing our children's development and recognizing their individual differences, then as teachers now, kompleto na tayo sa mga information. So that's the time that we can solve the challenges na we encounter in our day-to-day dealings with our students in a more positive way, no? In a more positive discipline. Okay. So next, ma'am, next slide. So the third part of the module po is, rather ng primer, ay yung examples of responding with positive discipline. Now, ito po kasi yung part 3 na ito ng PDET ay divided into different levels. May for kindergarten, meron po for grade school, and then meron po for high school. Now, may particular situation sa grade school na applicable po sa high school. So, let's start with this one, yung rudeness. Yan, in high school, no? So, rudeness, yan. So, rudeness is a situation similar, no, sa grade school. So, sinama ko na lang po dito. Kasi yung iba pong situation ay hindi po applicable sa atin. Applicable lang po yun for kindergarten and for grade school. Itong rudeness po, pinasok ko lang kasi applicable po sa atin. Lalo na ngayon, na tayo ay naka-online, so may mga messages sa aming school, na minsan meron kami na-encounter na ganito, na through text message, no, yung ganyan, ng mga bata. So, paano po tayo mag-respond through positive discipline? So, we have to consider 5 steps. So, first, you should know the possible reason. Okay? Second step is knowing or remember your long-term goal. The third step is how can you show or provide warmth. And step 4 is how to provide structure. And the last step po, no, using the PDET approach is responding with positive discipline. So let's start with rudeness. So first step is the reason. So what do you think could be the possible reason why a learner might behave this way? no, kahit tayo po ay naka-online. So these are some of the reasons. These are the things na na-compile po na INEP, Save the Children, and DepEd. Ito po ay from the point of view ng kanilang mga respondents. So, una po, maybe, sabi nila, no, maybe the child may not actually be attempting to be rude. No, it's just her or his manner, usual manner of speaking. Maybe nami-misinterpret as rudeness by others. Iba naman po, may mga bata na they have a very intense reaction to the information given. Halimbawa po, natakot siya o natatakot siya about what will happen kapag hindi siya nakapag-submit ng output o hindi niya na-submit sa deadline kung ano yung pinasasubmit ng kanyang mga teachers. Kaya takot po siya na baka ay ma-fail in most of his subjects. Or pwede naman po na yung estudyante ay not yet able, no, to handle and respond appropriately when given feedback. So, may mga ganun kasi mga bata. No, kahit naman sa face-to-face, may mga ganun tayong situation na hindi sanay kasi din ang magulang hindi sanay. Marami kami na-encounter na ganyan. No, sa regular high school sa amin po, may mga ganyan po mga estudyante. Yeah, madalas po yan po ang mga paliwanag ng kanilang mga magulang, hindi sanay. No? Or pwede naman po na yung bata ay frustrated dahil she could not explain herself properly. Ang mga bata po kasi timid, no? Masama na pala ang may dinaramdam na pala, meron na palang kinikinkin na sama ng loob, no? Sunod-sunod na, no? Tapos meron pa sa bahay, so ganun. Minsan, ito yung kanilang avenue, no? Para may release nila kung ano yung tension na frustrations, hindi lang tension, no? Frustration and anxiety. So minsan ito yung ginagawa nilang avenue through messenger o yung pagsagot sa mga teachers minsan. Now another, the next step po, so we're done with the first step. The second step is how or rather remember ano ba yung plan mo? Ano ba yung long-term goals mo? Siguro, you will agree with me na ito yung mga long-term plan mo siguro, no? Most probably, you want your child or your learners to know how to control and manage his anger or intense feelings. So, isa yan sa posibleng long-term goal natin as teacher. Or, we want our students to be able to communicate using constructive, no, language in any situation. And last is you want your child or your students to be able to respond to any kind of feedback in a non-violent way. So yun yung mga possible goal natin o yung plan natin for them. So dapat yun, na-verbalize natin yun, no? Now, through, sa anong paraan? Through step 3. So, in this situation, how can you provide warmth? So, dapat i-verbalize mo na dapat maintindihan ng bata na being disrespectful or hindi maganda because they really challenge your authority as teachers. Or minsan naman, wag din natin silang i-prejudge. Why? Pinakailangan kasi na matutunan o may maunawaan natin na sometimes our students answer rudely because they could not manage their frustrations or anger. So tignan po natin doon sa bahaging yun, no? On how to provide the warmth. And the fourth step is how to provide structure. So, anong gagawin natin? So first, we have to control our anger and handle the situation accordingly. Now, tell our learners or our students how you feel when he talks back at you in a rude tone or use foul or rude language. Third, start your sentence with I feel. I feel that. Yan. When talking about the effects of her behavior to you. And the last one, remind your learner about the classroom and tell them na bahagi sila no, doon sa pag-create ng classrooms ninyo. So, dapat naunawaan nila kung paano ito, naunawaan nila na dapat ito ay sinusunod nila. So, that's step 4. And then, last step is step 5. Now, how are you going to respond? Ito na challenge dito. How are you going to respond with positive discipline? Ito po mga my dear teachers, instead of shouting or humiliating our students or our learners in front or wala naman kasi tayong face-to-face, through in our Google Classroom or in our Google Meet, help our learners or assist our learners, no? Para hindi naman sila mapahiya. Pwede rin naman na talk to them, talk to our learners in a privately in a calm and soothing voice. Alam niyo po sa PDF parating tandaan natin with calm and soothing voice. And explain to our learners that it can happen to anyone, no? And please remind our students to ask for help if he feels like kailangan niya, no? Okay. Okay. Then next slide, ma'am. Okay. So disruptive behavior or talking in class. So first, so what do you think could be the possible reason? So or why a child might behave this way? So ito po ang mga possible reason. The child or the learner may not understand the lesson, so they ask each other about the topic. Minsan merong akong na-encounter na si teacher nasa Google and then kasabay ng Google Meet, naka-open yung group chat. So, nandun yung mga bata, pero active yung kalitan ng kanilang message sa group chat nila. Ayan. So, dapat aware din tayo sa gano'n, no? Or pwede rin naman na ang isa sa dahilan ay one of her classmates may have shared a joke and others cannot control their laughter kung may face-to-face. Yun naman pagka dahil sa ating situation, they cannot help themselves pero kundi post din ang kanilang message. So, pwede rin naman na yung ating mga learners, sometimes, hindi sila interested, no, doon sa topic. Kaya ngayon, ang dami-dami ng mga apps na ginagamit ng teacher para sa ganun, ma-sustain yung attention, no, ng bata from start to end of the lesson. Kasi kung ipopost lang ni teacher yung module as is, no, ipe-present lang niya, ay naku, mag-believe talaga mga bata. No? Kasi hindi sila magiging interested dun sa pinipresent mo. Kasi nga, may hawak na sila, katulad namin, no? Pero may mga bata kami na modular, may bata, nahati po kasi mga bata namin eh. May modular, may purely modular, and then may online. Okay? Or, pwede naman na yung bata, kaya may mga ganong behavior, destructive ang behavior nila, kasi nga, they get bored with the lesson. No? So, mas okay sa kanila kung merong chat, no? And they exchange messages. Now, step 2. So, step 2 naman, what is your long-term goal? So, remember, no? Remember your long-term goal. Ano ba yung gusto mo para sa kanila? So, pwede naman na you want your learner to be able to show respect by listening when someone is talking or someone is conducting an online class, no? Pwede naman na if you want your child to be able to set, you want your child to be able to set priorities, or you want your learners to set their priorities. So isa yan sa mga plan mo. O kaya pwede naman din na ang long-term goal mo ay you want your students to be able to be aware of the effects of their actions on others. And the last one is you want your learners to love learning and prioritize activities in the Google Classroom. Okay. Now, step 3, how can you show warmth? No? As a teacher, understand na, we should learn how to understand na ang mga estudyante natin ay they can easily distracted. Another is, they have different interests, they have different learning style, no? They have, some iba doon, they learn faster through discussion. Yung some iba naman, they learn naman better through activity. Yan. And another thing, we should understand that our learners may not always be aware of the effects of their action to others. So that's how we can show warmth. Now, how can we provide structure for these learners? So, number one is you can ask them calmly what is happening. Now, let our students share what they, what is the issue. So, let them share what they want to discuss, ano yung topic nila, bakit sila nagtatawanan, no? Or kaya pwede naman na tell our students that what you want for this particular moment, anong gusto mo mangyari, no? So, and then tell also the students na you are distracted, hindi lang ikaw, even yung kanilang mga klase na distracted doon sa ginagawa nila. Pwede rin naman din po na remind them also na may sinatang rules before the start of the Google Meet, no? And remind them that conversation about other topics may be done, no, during offline or asynchronous. No, wag naman during synchronous or online class. And also provide an interactive discussion or activities so that everyone can participate. Kaya nga, di ba, na-apply natin yung ating different apps na natutunan through our EduTech, ng ating webinar. No? And the last step is responding with positive discipline. So, mahalaga naman po ito. So, paano yun? Yan. So, do not throw. Kung may face-to-face tayo, no, do not shame or shout at the learners. No? Yan. Instead, wala tayong face-to-face. Ano gagawin natin? So, as a teacher, as an adult, no, we should learn how to control our anger. No? Keep our voice calm. No? When you ask students na misbehaving, and you may also ask them if they have questions about the lesson and explain to them na yung ginagawa nila, no, yung kanilang disruptive behavior can disrupt your teaching and thinking process, no? Pwede rin naman na you can tell them na pwede naman nila i-discuss yun kung ano man yung topic nila during their free time. So remind the whole class about the classroom rules and explain to them the importance of listening. You may also introduce, some innovations sa ating teaching method na kung saan may interaction. Like for example, pwede silang mag-participate. Meron yung tinatawag na posting some video, no, on how to respond to a particular output. Okay, or pwede naman yung, halimbawa, kung may quiz naman kayo, pwede naman gamitin yung ibang mga apps like quizzes, no? And Those, alam ko po, marami po kayong alam, no? Kayo po na nasa Marikina Science High School. At I'm sure din na ina-apply niyo na po ito. Ina-apply niyo ng matagal sa inyong mga students. So, next po. Ayan. May mga ganyan po kaming cases. I-discuss ko na rin po. So, no assignments or no outpost or no projects. Yan. So, paano po siya? Okay. So, what do you think could be the possible reason? So, why a child or why a learner might behave this way? So, ito po yung mga possible reason. The student may have low persistence level. Yung mga ganyan tayong bata. No? May mga bata tayo na minsan ay magsulat. No? Ayaw gumawa ng output through writing. Minsan mas gusto na i-deliver ito. No? Yung dumaldal ng dumaldal. Mas gusto nila yon. So we have to consider also the learning style. So may mga estudyante na may mga difficulties naman din sa managing their time or balancing schoolwork and social life. So dahil sa daming mga modules, daming mga outputs, so minsan, lalo na kung bata, hindi na manage yung kanilang, wala silang time management even before, so mahirap for them, lalo na itong ganitong water break po muna. Okay, next. Pwede naman din po na yung bata ay i-persuade natin, no? Na kinakailangan niyang mag-submit ng output, kinakailangan niyang mag-submit ng nire-require natin sa kanila, na kasi yun ay bahagi ng kanilang bahagi ng pagmamarka ng kanilang guro, no? At pwede naman din yung proyekto na suited sa kanilang abilidad. Kaya sa amin sa ASP, may mga options kami doon sa huling bahagi ng aming module na ano yung pwedeng gawin ng bata batay doon sa kanilang kakayanan. Alam po nila Ma'am Nas yan, no? As a ESP teacher. Now, sa step 2 naman po, now remember naman po yung long-term goal. Ano yung long-term goal natin? Ano yung plan natin for the students? So siguro po, you want our students to be able to manage their time and balance the schoolwork and social life, no? So, isa rin po doon na you want your students to set their priorities, you want your students to keep trying, no? Even if the projects may be difficult, no? Lalo na po sa mga estudyante ninyo kasi yung curriculum niyo po ay ibang-iba sa yung mga asignatura niyo po ay ibang-iba po sa asignatura sa regular, no? So, you want your students to ask for help when he has difficulty. So, dapat po alam natin na nandun ka lang parati para hindi man sila mag-guide ng teacher ng kanilang magulang or dahil busy sa work, pero anytime, no, nandun ka to help these students, no? Kaya sa amin po, meron kaming every Friday, yung ating parang open yung time natin para kung may mga follow-ups, may mga questions yung mga bata about their modules, nasasagot po. Sa amin po, may tunod po kami every Friday. And then yung aming Saturday ay assessment time naman po namin. And then, yan. Isa rin siguro sa goal natin, no, na mababanggit natin sa bata ay you want them to become a competent person. Yan, no? So number 3, how can you show warmth? Talk to the student or the learners privately. Yan. Show concern to the students regarding their performance in school. No? And last, pwede rin pong provide the support and guide them. So, doon na po papasok kami, no, as guidance advocate. Then, rather than punish them or criticize them. No? So, you can ask the help of your guidance advocate on how to do things like, on how to help these students na kinakailangan ng warm, no? Now, how can you provide structure? So, provide a clear understanding about how to do the project. Baga, wag lang natin basta, ito gawin mo. Kahit magagaling sila, still, iba pa rin yung may face-to-face with sa situation natin ngayon. Now, ask the student or the learners about possible time-saving strategies that they can use to complete the projects or the output. And pwede rin naman din provide information about the importance of completing the projects and let the students ask help if they need help. So, kahit hindi nila kailangan, ask them from time to time, kailangan nyo ng help, I'm here, to willing to help you. May time pa tayo to discuss things para hindi tayo mahirapan to deal with the activities or with the projects given. Now, step 5, responding with positive discipline. Ito na po yung last step natin. So instead of telling our learners that they will fail the subject, if they do not comply with the requirements, huwag na natin sabihin yun. Huwag natin po sabihin yun. Instead, ang gawin natin, show support, and concern for the students. And ask them or ask him if he needs help in doing the project or in doing the output or in doing the activity. Now, negotiate then, negotiate with the student on how he can make up for the assignment or for the projects na hindi niya nagawa. Ask him suggestions on the best possible way to accomplish the task. Kasi may paraan din po naman siya para ma-accomplish na yung task. Hindi yung paraan natin, So, tanungin natin, ano yung mas madali sa'yo? Paano mo gagawin itong project na to o itong activity na to na hindi ka mahihirapan? Yan. So, ganun po parate, And then the student may need to be shown how learning, projects and assignments may actually improve his academic performance. Then relate to our students or to our learners na meron silang mga skills, Lahat sila, they have different skills, they have different capabilities, at yun, pwede nilang i-apply in their, in doing their projects or their assignments. So, ito po, mahalaga po ito, Huwag natin kung, kumbaga, madalas gawin natin po ito sa ating mga estudyante. Encourage our students to help each other in completing assignments. So, minsan merong ganon. Sa face-to-face, meron tayong peer-to-peer learning. Paano kaya sa online? Pwede naman po yun, di po ba? I'm sure pwede yun. Kasi kung pwede sa face-to-face, pwede rin sa online. Peer-to-peer learning. So, ipapartner mo siya doon sa isa. Okay. Next, ma'am. Meron pa ba? Next slide, ma'am. Ayan. So, absenteeism or tardiness, may nalilig pa ba sa online class? Meron. Meron bang hindi uma-attend ng online class? Meron. Isa sa problem namin ngayon, I'm sure. I don't know sa school po ninyo, sana hindi naman siguro, Kasi connectivities, mukhang wala namang problem. Pero may mga students po talaga kami na talagang hindi nakaka-meet, hindi nakaka-attend ng kanilang online class. Dahil sa connectivity. Lalo na pagdating ng Monday, okay pa. Pagdating ng mga Wednesday, ayun, unti-unti na silang nawawala. Tapos i-message nila yung teacher. Ay, ma'am, sorry po, sir, sorry po kasi paubos na po yung data ko. Minsan, meron akong isang nakausap na guro sa amin, isang math teacher, first section po yung hawak niya. Nasabi niya sa kanyang advisory class, iwanan niyo naman ako ng konti. Imagine, iwanan niyo naman ako ng konti sa inyong data. Kasi Wednesday yung kanyang classes, sa kanyang advisory class. Nasa maka-attend naman kayo ng online class natin. So, alam niyo, nakakalungkot, na may mga ganung kaming situation. So, ano gagawin namin? So, may mga provided kaming, kumbaga, pang-alternate, may plan B. Kaya mas sa amin, we're conducting the so-called STL para doon sa mga bata na may problem emotionally, no? Yung mga problem na may mga hindi lang emotion no? Hindi lang emotional problem So marami kami mga iba't ibang cases ngayon na ang dahilan ay itong ating situation na hinaharap. So, kaya meron kaming kinakandak na action research regarding social SEL, social emotional learning approach sa aming mga students who are confronted with different types of behavior, rather problem brought about by this pandemic. So let's continue po. So, ayan. So, sorry ma'am. Absenteeism or tardiness. Okay, ma'am. Okay, so conclusion. So, ito pong bahagi po ito ng ating primer. Ito po ay tinuturuan po tayo dito. Tinuturuan po tayo no, bilang guro na ayan. Oh, sorry. So, conclusion part, ito po yun, no? So, with that approach may seem more difficult. Mahirap po talaga, lalo na sa ating situation yan. But, it will really help make our interactions with students respectful, more respectful, and more caring. And then, in the long term, that we invest to this, no? This will provide us a happier and calmer Google Classroom and school environment kahit walang face-to-face. Paano? Kasi it requires commitment and adherence to the rights of the child to be taught and treated with respect. Okay? Now, next slide, ma'am. So, the last part of the primer is a note for teachers' well-being. No, ito po yan. So, think about it. Now that you know better, you do better. Now that you know better, you do better. So, a note for teachers' well-being. No? Meron po ditong tinatawag na bahagi ng approach, with that approach, yung stress management. Our temperament affects our behavior in the Google Classroom. So, think of how we can adjust of our expectations, meet our students' needs, and find ways of resolving conflicts without punishment. So, take note of this. ABC stress management model A, acknowledges stress. No? Tanggapin natin na araw-araw meron tayo, nakakaranas tayo ng stress. Hindi lang sa ating online class, no? Even our personal needs, even dealings with our family. Kasama yan. Letter B, learn to modify behavior. Hindi pwedeng dictate ng ibang tao yung behavior na i-manifest mo. Ito mismo, sa sarili mo, know how to modify your behavior. Learn to, sabi niya, matuto ka na huwag mo i-compare yung before. Kami dati kasi kami ganito Dapat kayo din mga estudyante. No, malayong-malayo na po ang ating panahon sa panahon before. No, ako po nasa 3 decades na po ko sa academy. Pero nakita mo yung nag-evolve kung paano nag-evolve ang pagtuturo, paano yung mga bata, iba't ibang generation. No? So, learn to modify your behavior. And then letter C, communicate with your students, with the parents. No? Diba meron tayong manual para sa magulang, meron tayong safeguarding training before. No? So, ipaliwanag natin madalas yun sa ating mga estudyante, sa ating mga magulang during PPC or meron tayong homeroom guidance classroom. And then communicate with our principal. Communicate with our grade level here, ano yung problem? Kasi I'm sure marami silang pwedeng may bahagi, no? Kung paano natin ma-manage yung ating stress in dealing with our day-to-day online class. And then, don't forget, no? So, to relax, uh, slow down, take take it easy. Go outside. Ang dami, hindi naman outside our dwelling. Sa labas pa lang ng bahay mo, meron ka ng yung mga plantitas, no? Or into baking, into other, yung iba nag-yoga, no? Meron akong kasama, isang staff namin, everyday yan, nag-yoga siya. Ayan, travel soon, sabi ng Cathy. Sana nga. Then, syempre, we should learn how to enjoy life. So, kahit nasa ganito tayong situation, very, very challenging talaga. No? Next, ma'am. Next slide po. So, naalala niyo po yung ating project Smile, serving with meaning, in lifelong education. So, Marikina Science High School, masayang guro, masiglang magturo. With that, thank you so much and thank you for this opportunity na may share ko po sa inyo itong PDEP. I'm sure meron pong naka-attend dito before na national training for this particular topic. So, ano lang po tayo, kumbaga refreshing course lang tayo. Nag-refresh lang po tayo. Okay, so thank you so much po.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. No? For giving your valuable insight on positive discipline in everyday teaching. As we all know, the strict implementation of child protection policy serves as for calling all teachers, to apply positive discipline in everyday teaching. And this may sound challenging at first, but may result great effect when properly practiced every day. So can you please repeat? No? Can we say, yes, we can? Kaya ba natin, mga teachers?
Yes, we can. Yes, yes.
Okay, so i-apply po natin yung positive discipline in our everyday teaching. So, ayun po, allow me to read the certificate. Dali lang po. Medyo pakilakihan nga ma'am, di ko makita.
Yes, sir. Okay, ako na lang magbabasa. Hindi ko na malalakihan.
Sige po, ito ako na lang. So,
Mababasa ka ba, sir?
medyo ma'am.
Sige, go
Sige,
ahead.
kayo na lang ma'am, kayo na lang.
So let me read the citation. Marikina Science High School awards this certificate of appreciation to Eunice Quezon Kayawon for sharing her valuable time, wisdom, and expertise as a resource speaker during the conduct of webinar on positive discipline in everyday teaching, held on June 4 via Google Meet, given this fourth day of June 2021 at Latina Science High School. Signed, Maria A. Nicolas, Assistant Principal to Office in Charge, Office of the Principal.
Thank you so much po. It's my second time na very grateful po ako sa Marikina Science High School sa pag-invite niyo po sa akin. Kay Ma'am Nicolas, thank you so much Ma'am Feli Perez, my coordinator ko po si Ma'am Feli before sa Open High School. Thank you so much Ma'am Perez. I miss you na Ma'am. Thank you so much po Ma'am Cathy, Sir Bossy, and the rest of Marikina Science High School faculty. Thank you so much po.
Thank you again po ma'am. So with that, we will go and take some questions dito sa ating chat box. Meron ba kayong mga katanungan? If you have any questions, please